Hey guys, this is part 3 where I am ranking all of the fantasy and historical TV series that I watched in 2024. So this is the final part of this trilogy of episodes where I am ranking all of the historical and fantasy TV series that I watched in 2024. Yeah, what a year of this genre, yeah guys. Some hits, some misses, and boy oh boy, this top 10 was very hard for me. I kept looking at my top 10 and kind of rearranging uh, the the shows, and I was like, okay, what did I enjoy more? And I have a feeling this top 10 is going to be rather divisive, and I'm going to have people who just do not totally agree with this top 10, and that's okay. Because this is my personal list. These are the shows that I enjoyed the most in this genre. These particular genres of historical fiction and fantasy. These are the top 10 shows that I enjoyed the most, and it's all about my personal enjoyment and engagement with a show. So let's go into the rules really quickly before heading into the top 10. First up, obviously, the TV series must be historical fiction or fantasy based. I am including fantasy in this series because oftentimes fantasy has a very historical-like aesthetic to it. Second, the series must be set before the year 2000. Contemporary shows may be included as long as they have one of the following: A time travel element, B, flashbacks that are pivotal to the plot, C, dual or multi-narratives that take place prior to the year 2000. Third, this list will include shows that premiered in the year of 2024, but the list may also have shows that are older that this is my first time watching them. And last, this ranking is meant to be fun. It is based off of my personal enjoyment and my level of engagement with each of these series. At number 10, The Empress, Season 2. Hoping to enjoy newly married life, Emperor Franz Joseph faces enemies across the Austrian Empire, while Elizabeth is pressured to produce an heir to the throne to secure the empire. Starring Devon Lingnau and Philip Fressant. This second season of The Empress, it's one of those seasons that just kind of just popped up out of nowhere. I was not even aware of it because I wasn't even sure if Netflix had even renewed this show. So I was really happy and thrilled that The Empress came back for a second season this year. Here's crossing my fingers that we get a third season and hopefully a fourth season. Yeah, this second season, I really enjoyed the first season, but I definitely think the second season was a huge improvement upon the first season, because we got all of the introductory elements out of the way, you know? So this season, we're just jumping right into things. Elizabeth and Franz Joseph, they're married now. They've already had their first child. She's expecting their second child, which they're really hoping is their much needed male heir for the Austrian throne. Yeah, this season, it's tackling kind of a specific span of the life of Elizabeth of Austria-Hungary, and I really liked how Elizabeth's character was kind of portrayed in this particular season, because she's a woman who's struggling with a lot. She's struggling with her mental health. She's struggling with the fact, you know, her placement as a woman, her place as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, as an empress. You know, she's struggling with so many things, so many roles, and what her function and purpose is, and she still just wants to be herself, but can she? And yeah, I continue to love her relationship and her chemistry with Franz Joseph, you guys. Yeah, a huge part of this particular season was definitely the continuing rivalry between her and her mother-in-law. Dear God, that goes to some wild extreme places, because it kind of reaches this point that it turns into a bit of gaslighting going on. Poor Elizabeth, you guys. Yeah, this second season, the second installment, wow, I loved every beat of this particular season. I don't think there was a single bad episode. At number 9, The Serpent Queen, Season 2. Catherine struggles to maintain her power during a time of political and religious turmoil in France, while her enemies flock to Queen Elizabeth I for personal gain. Starring Samantha Morton and Minnie Driver. If you didn't think things could get any better, this season added in Minnie Driver as Queen Elizabeth I, you guys, and it was great. I loved it. I didn't think there could be a performance that would, kind of weigh up there as equally as Kate Blanchett, but I sure did love Minnie Driver's portrayal of Elizabeth because it was pretty insane. Very unique and different, I think, from past portrayals of Elizabeth I. But yeah, anyway, the second season of The Serpent Queen, we continue to see Catherine de' Medici. The thing is, now in this particular season, Catherine has all of the power because season 1 was all about her really trying to get power and keep that power and try to influence as best as she could. So this particular season, because her husband is now dead, her oldest child is also dead. So now her next oldest child is King of France, and she really feels that she can control and manipulate him better than she could her previous son and even her husband. So yeah, this whole season, Catherine definitely has all the power, all the control, just all of the strategic manipulating, backstabbing going on. It was great. Seriously, Samantha Morton, I just can't imagine anybody else doing Catherine de' Medici in this particular series. Catherine de' Medici is just such a wild historical figure. I love her. And yeah, a big thing about this particular season that I enjoyed, because all of Catherine's children are now like grown adults, because in the previous season they were all like children, so they're all like grown adults in this season. So I love that dynamic between Catherine de' Medici and all of her children, because it's just so problematic and it's so toxic. She says that she does everything for her children, but does she? How much does she love her children? How much is she actually really doing for her children versus how much is she really doing for herself? So I love the power dynamics with not only Catherine and like the court, the French court, but just everything going on with her children, you guys. My God, that was definitely the highlight of the season for me. And yeah, just such a rich time in history that they're focusing on in this season too, because you have all of the political stuff going on, you have all the religious stuff going on, and yeah, this season ends in such a climax with the Saint Bartholomew's Day massacre, you guys. Jesus Christ, that was amazing. At number 8, Manhunt follows Secretary of War Edward Stanton as he hunts for President Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth, starring Tobias Menzies and Anthony Boyle. Woo, this show. Yeah, guys, I mentioned in my previous video that Apple TV Plus just had a ton of amazing programming in the year of 2024, especially in the historical fiction category. And Manhunt was one of those shows that came out, and I freaking love this show. You guys, I was really happily surprised with how much I enjoyed it, because like a lot of stuff that came out on Apple TV Plus last year, this is a show that I found out about at the last minute, and I'm glad I caught it just in time to catch it. We all know about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, obviously, but I think what a lot of times doesn't entirely get covered is kind of the aftermath of the assassination and the hunt to find and track down everybody involved with that assassination, because it wasn't just John Wilkes Booth. There was like a whole host of other people involved, which I was not entirely aware of. It's kind of one of the, it's like history class, you learn about the assassination, but then it doesn't really kind of go into the rest of it. Everything goes bad for John Wilkes Booth at the end. So seriously, I love Tobias Menzies' performance in this, because he's, like I said, he's playing Secretary of War Edward Stanton. He's basically playing detective the whole show, because him and Lincoln had a really special bond, and he's determined to find all of the people involved. And then, oh my God, you guys, Anthony Boyle as John Wilkes Booth. Wow, what an absolutely compelling, terrifying performance. It gave me chills, seriously. Anthony Boyle, his performance was just incredible and so nuanced and full of so much depth, considering this guy is the villain. He is the villain and he's despicable, but there's just something charismatic and charming about him that you kind of feel disgusted that you feel that way about him. But yeah, an incredible, remarkable performance by Anthony Boyle as John Wilkes Booth. I love that rivalry between Stanton and Booth, that back and forth drama going on, because it's like, the history, John Wilkes Booth will be captured and he will be killed. All that's going to end a certain way, but it's like the way the show was going, it still had this really thrilling pace and excitement to it, like, oh my god, is John Wilkes Booth actually going to escape? At number 7, A Gentleman in Moscow. A Russian aristocrat is spared from death and placed on house arrest while the Bolshevik Revolution plays out before him. Starring Ewan McGregor and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I loved this show, you guys. If anything, this show made me really excited to read the book that it's based off of. I own the book, but I have yet to get around to it, but I hear nothing but good things about this book. I'm just so excited. I loved this show. It takes place pretty much directly after, the Russian Revolution, the fall of the Romanovs and whatnot. And yeah, we're getting into the beginnings of communism in Russia. So yeah, we're following this aristocrat played by Ewan McGregor, who's always had wealth and privilege in his life. But yeah, with the rise of communism now and the fall of the Romanovs, he's in a really bad place. So he's placed under house arrest in a hotel. He's given an absolutely cruddy, horrible room that's really small, and he has to stay there for the remainder of his life. If he walks out the building, he will be shot on the spot. So this whole show is about Ewan McGregor's character, as he's trying to reestablish his life and his identity, being in this hotel, and what initially seems like an end to his life is actually really a new beginning to his life. And he really starts to learn new things about himself and what he's capable of and what his ideals are, what he truly cares about at the end of the day. This show just goes to some really surprising places. It's actually really highly comedic, which I was not expecting. And I loved Ewan McGregor's performance, and it's just really top notch. He pulls off the drama and the comedy so well, especially, oh my god, there's really heartbreaking moments as you near the end of the season, you guys. So yeah, the show is following multiple decades. So yeah, you're there at the end of the Russian Revolution, beginnings of communism. Yeah, you go through World War II and whatnot. So yeah, the show goes to some pretty wild and crazy places, and I just never quite knew where it was going to go, and I ended up thoroughly loving this. At number 6, We Were the Lucky Ones. A Jewish family is determined to survive and reunite after being separated during World War II. Starring Joey King and Logan Lerman. So if you happen to watch part 1 of my ranking, I had the Tattooist of Auschwitz very, very low on this list. And if there was one World War II Holocaust themed show that you needed to watch, I would personally recommend We Were the Lucky Ones over the Tattooist of Auschwitz, because the Tattooist of Auschwitz was just kind of frustrating and disappointing to me, and We Were the Lucky Ones is definitely the superior of the two, in my opinion. I far preferred the characters. I far preferred the writing style, the directing style, the acting style. There was just so much about We Were the Lucky Ones that worked better, in my opinion. And I think We Were the Lucky Ones just had a much better emotional core to it, to be quite honest. Because seriously, every single episode of the show, I found myself crying. Okay, there was always something I found myself crying about. Yeah, this whole show is about this one family. They're a pretty large family, and just everything that happens to them during World War II, because the family is essentially divided up. There's some characters that are dealing with this situation, some characters that are dealing with this situation, some characters dealing with this. They are scattered across the globe. It's pretty insane. And this is not a spoiler, because this is based off of a real family, and a book was made out of this, like a historical fiction book, because the author, this was her family, and she was writing, a fictional version of that, but still focused on real events. The thing is, like I said, this is not really too much of a spoiler, since it is historically accurate, based off of real events. The whole family manages to survive they all managed to survive World War II. That is the most shocking, surprising thing. And it's like you're kind of aware of that going into the show, that's why I say it's not really too much of a spoiler. So it's kind of that thing of, well, how are they all going to survive exactly, I like that this show, considering that it's World War II, that it's the Holocaust, a lot of stuff in this genre tends to be really just doom and gloom and super depressing. And this show, there is doom and gloom and there are some depressing elements, but the thing is, this show, there's something about it, by the time you reach the conclusion, it's really uplifting and it gives you just great joy and happiness, because once again, the whole family makes it through. Again, not a spoiler because it's documented that they all made it through. I love the more uplifting nature of this mini series, because even that alone, I was crying out of joy by the end of this series, you know. So I thoroughly enjoyed We Were the Lucky Ones. If you haven't checked it out, please go check it out because I think it's well worth your time. At number 5, Interview with the Vampire, Season 2. Louis and Claudia travel across a war-torn Europe as they search for other vampires, eventually stumbling across some Parisian vampires who run a mysterious theater. Starring Jacob Anderson, Azad Zaman, Delaney Hales, and Sam Reed. Okay, I'm going to be honest here for a second. The front half of Season 2 of Interview with the Vampire, the front half I was getting a little bit frustrated with because I felt like it was a little slow, a little monotonous. It just felt kind of repetitive, you know, for the front half. And I just wanted it to get somewhere because I knew the second half was where all the good stuff was going to be. And yeah, sure enough, the second half of the season is where everything just picks up, and it picks up at top speed and it gets insane and crazy. And if you're not crying by the end, I don't know what to say. Yeah, Season 2 of Interview with the Vampire, I was definitely really highly looking forward to because, yeah, we were now moving into Paris. We were getting the vampire theater run by Armand, which I was really excited about, and I was excited to see how they were going to work Lestat into the season. Yeah, a very highly emotional season that takes some unexpected twists and turns, especially with just character threads, because they, for the most part, the season definitely follows Anne Rice's book, but it definitely takes a few little liberties in there, which I found intriguing, and I loved the choices that were made. Like I said, character choices that were made, just so wonderful. Yeah, a really outstanding second season. You know, even though I think the front half was a little rough, I can kind of forgive it that because of the incredible second half. And if anything, it made me very, very much excited for Season 3. At number 4, The Rings of Power, Season 2. The elves are aware of the re-emergence of Sauron, while Elrond is concerned about the effect of Celebrimbor's ring on Galadriel. Nori helps the stranger on his quest to Rhûn, and Durin must save Khazad-dûm from destruction. Starring Morpeth Clark, Robert Aramayo, and Charlie Vickers. I have a feeling putting The Rings of Power Season 2 here at number 4 is going to anger some people, and you know what? I honestly don't give a damn. Again, this is my list, and as I stated in the rules, my ranking is determined by my level of enjoyment and my level of engagement. And boy, oh boy, Rings of Power Season 2 certainly got me engaged. I was watching fan videos, I was reading fan fiction, I was reading reviews and articles about the season. I was just really obsessed about certain things going on in this particular season and just hearing the thoughts of other people, you know. So yeah, like I said, I really don't care if anyone is angry about me ranking Rings of Power Season 2 here at number 4. Again, my video, my rules. Let's be real. Season 2 of Rings of Power was definitely a hot mess. Okay? A big, huge, hot mess. But there were certain aspects of it that I just freaking loved, and I was hooked with, and I was obsessed with. Don't get me started on how much I love hot Sauron, you guys. Why is the greatest evil in Middle-earth? Why is he so hot? Someone please explain that to me. Yeah, I just really enjoyed Season 2, despite some of it being a bit of a huge mess. Because I do think the show struggles with focus. That is the biggest issue that I have with this show, that it struggles with focus, that it's focusing on too much when it needs to be focusing on other elements, you know, because right now I'm not sure why it's focusing on certain characters, you know. But yeah, I still just found myself enjoying this season, and week after week being excited and anticipating it, you know, even though I knew there's probably going to be some frustrating things about it. But again, just my level of engagement and obsession with this particular season was off the rails, okay? I can't even begin to describe to you guys how obsessed I was with this season. And yeah, in general, the season, it was fine. it worked. And I am totally excited for a season 3, where it's going. And like I said, the biggest thing that worked for me with this particular season was definitely the character of Sauron, played by Charlie Vickers. He is what makes this show work, in my opinion, and what kind of connects everything. Yeah, I loved his arc and the characters that he was kind of connected with, and then kind of some of the surrounding little things involved with his story, you know. All of that stuff that ties in, that deal with the rings of power themselves, you know, creating eventually the one ring of power that we'll see in the Lord of the Rings, you know, all of that is what works for me with this show and what I love and what I'm so obsessed about. Yeah, season 3, I need it now, okay? At number 3, Pachinko, season 2. During World War II, Sonia must make dangerous decisions in order to protect her family. And in the 1980s, her grandson Solomon finally takes a stand for the things he should be fighting for. Starring Min Ha Kim and Lee Min Ho. I've said this before about Pachinko. Pachinko is like the best show out there that absolutely nobody is watching, and you need to stop what you're doing and watch it, okay? Pachinko is just spectacular when it comes to writing, directing, acting, just the visual look of the show, the thematics of it. It is a gorgeous show to look at and to listen to, because it's all done in like Japanese and Korean. I love how Apple TV does the subtitles for this show. That way, if a character's speaking Japanese, it's in one color. If they're speaking Korean, it's in another color, you know. Yeah, this second season, I was very much highly anticipating it and looking forward to it. It did not disappoint whatsoever. I think it was just as incredible as season 1. And yeah, the focus of this season, we're moving into World War II for some of the characters, and then we still have the 1980s present, because the show is a multi-generational show. It's following this woman, Sonia. It's following her character in World War II and her family, and then yeah, the 1980s focus on her as an older woman, and yet focusing on her grandson there. So yeah, it's a multi-generational show, and it's about, you know, family trauma, if you will. It's about family trauma, family drama, the choices that people make all in the name of family, you know. Pachinko is just a spectacular show. Again, a show that you need to be watching if you haven't already. And yeah, season 2, incredible. At number 2, House of the Dragon, season 2. Tensions rise between the different Targaryen factions as new dragon riders are found and the war begins. Starring Matt Smith, Emma Darcy, and Olivia Cook. Just like my ranking for Rings of Power Season 2, I may be irritating people with my ranking of House of the Dragon Season 2 as high as it is, but again, this is my video. I don't give a damn. I freaking loved Season 2 of House of the Dragon. You guys, my God. I honestly think I was watching a different show from other people, okay? Everybody else was griping and complaining about this season. I didn't have a single damn problem with this season. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like with my obsession with Rings of Power, House of the Dragon is another show, just my level of engagement is insane. I watch fan videos. I read fan fiction. I read articles and reviews about every episode. I watch other people's videos where they're analyzing and breaking down the episodes. You know, my obsession with House of the Dragon is a little insane, okay? That's why it's number 2. Again, I do these rankings based on my personal enjoyment and my level of engagement, okay? So yeah, House of the Dragon Season 2, things just deeply intensify. The war is finally getting started, and I can't wait to see where it's going, who's going to live, who's going to die. We kind of know how it's going to end, because Game of Thrones, if you paid attention to certain elements in Game of Thrones spoiled certain things about House of the Dragon. So it's like, we kind of know where it's going, unfortunately. But I'm still excited. I'm here for the ride. Yes, season 2, just some amazing performances by like Matt Smith and Emma Darcy, Olivia Cook, my God. And yeah, I loved the expanded roles for characters like Aemond and Aegon and Helena. I love them. I just love all the Targaryen family drama, okay? Give it to me. And at number 1, Shogun. Set in 17th century Japan, following British sailor John Blackthorne, who rises from outsider to samurai, while being used as a pawn in Japanese leader Toranaga's struggle to reach the top of the ruling chain. Starring Cosmo Jarvis, Anna Sawai, and Hiroyuki Sanada. I tell you what, Shogun being number 1 on my list, it has been number 1 on my list all year long. I did not anticipate anything else beating out Shogun, okay? The only show I was possibly worried about was House of the Dragon, but yeah, Shogun, definitely the best show in general in 2024. Not just the best when it comes to the historical fiction genre, but just the best show in general, okay? This show, just everything about this show was pure perfection, in my opinion. I don't think this show made a single wrong move. The acting was amazing, the writing was amazing, the directing was amazing, the visuals, the cinematography. I loved how language specifically was used in this show, because you have some characters speaking English, you have some speaking Japanese, you have some speaking Portuguese. I loved how language was depicted in this show, because it's a really it's an accurate look at how language would have been. People would either have been able to speak certain languages or they wouldn't have. There would have been language barriers. You would have needed translators. And I love the historical backdrop in general of this show. You're seeing all these warring factions and warring leaders. It's intense, it's insane. Just everything about this show done to absolute perfection, in my opinion. And yet, even people who are specialists in this time period, they didn't really have anything to overly nitpick about this show. Like, even down to like costuming, like even the costuming is just perfect. And what's wonderful about this show is all about quality over spectacle, which is a big deal to me. This show, sometimes you could have huge chunks and sections of this show where it might just be people sitting at a table having really intense conversation or intense debates, and things just all of a sudden escalate out of control. I love shows like that where people are just at a table, and that is the action right there. People not actually moving around doing anything. This show really specialized in the art of just sitting at a table and it being intense between a group of characters. Again, it was all about the story rather than the spectacle, because even when there are big cinematic elements and action sequences, that's not the focus. The focus always comes back to the characters and to the story, and I love that about this show. Again, not a single bad beat to this show whatsoever, and if you've not seen it, you need to go watch it right now, because it's been nominated for all sorts of awards for the award season. So you guys, that is it for my ranking of all of the fantasy and historical TV series that I watched in the year of 2024. And like I said, I bet this top 10 is going to upset some people, but again, I don't really care. You can go make your own video with what you watched, and that will make you happier, okay? So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what shows you guys enjoyed this year or last year in 2024. Did any of my picks upset you? That's okay if they did. So yeah, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.